gang. I was in the heart of it, where it all happened, in the dark of it. I'm talking all the graphics. Do I ever miss a block? Man, they all asses. I think it's heaven at the top till it all crashes. I was functioning with the rep cause I was one of them. Look, every soldier around kept a gun on them. Everything looking for them, running up on them. I got some pictures in my mind, I could never post them. It was explosive every day, we made a show of it. Tried to get rich and died trying, had to go for it. A generation off the killer made you know of it. But it's hard to be proud when you're grown from it. The clear wrong of it seemed right then. A fraternity, your brother stay fighting for respect and a disrespectful environment. Damn, the danger in the trenches was exciting. Life is the kill, at least that's how we move. And your word went nil, had to show and prove. And the stripes we approved was a stepping stool. The network grew, so that the investment grew. I was in the heart of it, where it all happened, in the dark of it. I'm talking all the graphics. Do I ever miss a block? Man, they all asses. I think it's heaven at the top till it all crashes.
This is Gangsta-Gangsta, and this is the second episode with Tricky B from Denver Lanes and the General from Edgemont Criminals. I want to transition to another topic because when he was talking, it brought something up in my mind that you had said. I think on another broadcast you were talking about. Hold on, I just lost my train of thought. I'm getting old. They call these senior moments. Kenny. You ain't have. You probably ain't had one of these.
We gonna
yet,
give you a
pass
on that, man. We can give you a pass. It's all right.
I'm not giving him a pass.
Oh, get it on him, then.
No, you were. Let's see. You were talking about. Oh, wait a minute. Good. It'll come back to me. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Hey, Scory, before you move on, Scory, before we move on, do I want to piggyback off of something that Michael said about drugs and alcohol kind of being therapeutic to us from whatever we went through, in our childhood, and I do agree with him, like that gang banging and drugs both came in or alive at the same time. Like I remember times when I was like 7 years old in the backyard with my older cousin, smoking weed and just thinking it was popular, but getting older and having demons, and the demons don't necessarily have to come from killing people or from getting jumped or from jumping people. The drugs also help. It actually helps numb something inside of you that's broken from getting ass whoopings as a kid, and you never know. That them whoopings you was getting or not having such a great relationship with your mother, or just not being accepted at school for who you want to be, or whatever it was. But the drugs do help you numb out. Even when you traveling, with 4 or 5 of your bros and we spot an enemy and we got to go pack him out. Like, I don't know how y'all felt, but I was always the one that kind of had a conscience, and I didn't like that we was doing that to whoever we was doing it to. But at the same time, it turned me on because my bros was doing it, and this was something I knew we was supposed to be doing because it made the set look better, and it made us look even more like more gangster than what we thought we was. But smoking weed later on and having a drink, whatever conscience I did have, it put it to bed, and it never made me have to revisit how I felt about doing anything bad ever again, or about getting a whooping. Like I know we all got our butts whooped when we was kids, hit with paddles and all that, but even afterwards, going to school when I was like a preteen, like going to school and getting high made me like forget about the ass whooping I just got the day before. So Duck, that's definitely something. It probably just need to be a whole podcast just on that subject and that subject alone, because I could even see now from us having this conversation why this generation is drug driven, because they probably done experienced even more trauma than what we have. We just don't know what it is. So that's a good observation, man.
All right. We ain't talked to them, man. And that's what we actually need to do, is actually talk and say, like, well, tell us about your trauma, because we know you had to go through trauma. Being, we so judgmental, right? I remember like when they start wearing the skinny pants and all this other stuff, right? Like, man, that's gay, man. Running around with tight ass pants on all. And I was in a group one time, and the dude said, yeah, we wear skinny pants, we woo, and we got our burner on us, and we will whip it out and blame you, right? Like, he just like, it was like, and what I saw there was like, he was just talking like anybody else. He was like, whatever we wear, man, like whatever clothes we got on, confuse us if you want to, and we'll lay you down. right? And it was like, okay, that's just who they are. Like they just got their thing going on, whatever they got going on, and generationally, they're going to have to go through that same trauma that we were going through to make you, because something makes you be an individual who hunts other human beings. Something makes that. That's not organic. Like you just don't wake up and like, oh, let me just become a hunter of humans, right?
Yeah, that's not normal.
That's not normal. No, that's not normal at all.
It's not normal, but it's a part of the culture, though. It's a part of the culture. Like, I mean, everything in life has been hunted by somebody. You're gonna have a hunter and you're gonna have a prey. Like everybody, you either gonna be the predator or you're gonna be the prey. Period. Animals do it all the time, and just because we like we at the top of the chain of animals, don't mean that you're not gonna get preyed upon. And most likely, like you said earlier, Corey, if you're a black gang member, you most likely gonna prey on other black gang members. Same thing with Hispanics, whites, Asians. Everybody's gonna get preyed on at one point in time. You could not be a gang member and get preyed on. It's just we're animals, and we can't ever forget that. We call ourselves human beings, but we're actually at the top of the at the animal chain, and we're just
sophisticated. The difference between us and animals is this: is that we are the species, the only species on the planet that can actually activate our intellect, right? There's no other species that's capable of saying, you know what, I can project myself into the future. No other species can project themselves 100, 500,000 years into the future. We can, right? So we have a higher level of intellect, and we have to utilize it. So and most people don't hunt other human beings, right? Most people don't get to that level.
And when we lose our humanity, that's when we find it acceptable to do that, to think like that, to hunt people, right. And it's normal to us because we done lost our humanity.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that becoming a gangster is going to do to you. You are going to lose a piece of your humanity, right? You can pretend you're not. You can pretend you're not going to get. You're going to do something. You're going to be able to get back. You will never get it back. Even if you never pull a trigger, even if you never lay somebody down, if you're around that enough, you still lose some of your humanity. Because if you're in a real gang, then that's what they do. They kill people, and you will be party to it either directly or indirectly, and it will do something to you, right? You can't just take people's lives and just walk around as a human being unless you're a sociopath. And not feel something about it, and then you got to do something with those feelings. So, what do you got to say about that, Amir? I hear you over there.
Well, I think it's the desensitization, right? And it's also you playing the victim, because when somebody shoots you, it's either okay, I'm gonna go straight, or I'm about to shoot some people back, right? So it's having
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Is you taking on the belief system of the person who violated you in an attempt to get back what they stole from you, right? That's what I come to find, right? Is I took on somebody else's belief system, trying to claim back my sense of bravado from the first time somebody bullied me and took my bike, right? Or the first time somebody said they were from some other place and attempted to bomb on me, right? So it's you taking on that belief system, and then you just start projecting it on other people. You start victimizing other people in a sense to protect yourself and prove you worthy of not being bullied or having your stuff taken. You start victimizing other people, so you do lose that humanity. And even being in prison, we got so many people be stabbed up and killed over the years. Now we sit back while the person being stabbed up, and we just sit there and laugh, right? Or we just sit there like it's nothing, right? But in actuality, it's doing something to our psyche, right? It's desensitizing us. Now, when we call home and something happens, somebody goes, oh, yeah, like we still like, okay, I called for this. I ain't really concerned with that. I'm trying to get what I can get. I'm in my own survival mode. So when somebody else dies or somebody else gets some type of ill fate, I'm already desensitized because I've been going through all this stuff. I've been getting my ass whooped as a kid. I've been getting incarcerated all my life, right? And now I got a life sentence. I'm watching people get stabbed up. These police are like, really? That's nothing. They got to suck it up. And you do lose that sense of humanity. It's hard trying to get that back. It's hard trying to find a way to shed tears or feel sympathy for somebody else, right? Because we've been through the trenches, and it's like, man, you just got to deal with it how you can deal with it.
Yeah, I go to a support group. It's called Homework, right? Run by a beautiful brother named Jason. Shout out to my brother Jason. And we sit in the room and we talk with one another, and that's the kind of things that we're talking about, right? It's like everybody's formerly incarcerated, right? And some people are even still in MCRPs, and they come to this group, and we talk about the real traumas, like and the real things that happen to us in our lives, and sometimes you need that safe space, because you were just saying something like people can't relate to us. That's true, like, and that's what Gangsta-Gangsta is about too. Is about saying our culture. It doesn't matter what other people think about it. It exists, right? There are gang members and there are former gang members, and so it doesn't matter what people think about that. It's a reality. We exist. So we're trying to create a space where we can come and have conversations with each other that are real, and we don't have to agree with each other about every point. We don't have to believe the same things that each other believe. But everybody's viewpoint needs to be heard, right? Say, hey, look, let me ask you this, and let's hear what you got to say about this. What's your position? And then somebody might come behind us and say, no, I don't agree with that. I don't agree. I think this was this or that. Whatever. Fine. Let's hear everything. Let's give our culture a soft place to land, somewhere where they can come and have a conversation.
Absolutely, and I think that's where the healing starts at, right? I think the trauma, you start to see the effects of the trauma kind of wane off. Right? Because I'm in a group right now. I'm actually in a CDA group with Lil Ghost from 9-0, right? A few other household names up in there. And it's like, how do we get to this point where we start wanting to hurt other people, right? And it all, from everybody's testimony, came back to themselves being victimized or watching their moms or pops victimized, right? And so you start healing once you start hearing everybody else's story. But the thing to remember is, no matter how much you feel you got away from the gang culture or the gang activity, you're always going to be a gang member. And the board has been asking people that when they go to the board, are you still a gang member? And they say no. But in actuality, to the victim's family that, you took their son, they see you as a gang member. And I could get out with a kufi, with a full throw going one way to the masjid, and somebody that I don't kill their brother or somebody I didn't shot, when they see me, the first thing they identify is, oh, that's General from over there, or that's Insane Rope from over there, right? They still going to see you as that gang member. So you have to be consciously aware of that and realize that it's trauma in who you was. And now how do you reverse that? And how do you make sure that you don't go back to that? Because in any split second, somebody could kill my daughter, rape my daughter, or something tragic could happen. I have to be aware of the fact that where I came from, or else in that split second, I can revert back to that same type of mentality. It's like being an addict. You're always an addict. So you just got to use the tools to prevent yourself from acting in your addiction.
Right. Michael was talking about that the other day. We were having that conversation about that we never, that then that's a part of us, right? Being a gangster, if you ever a gang member, it's a part of you. And I was describing it as being a box, putting my guy in a box. But that's what happens. And the reality is, but I do want to say this, because you said something, and I know it's true for while we're inside, that's a belief. Even when you're in the MCRP, you still have that kind of belief. But my experience has been that if you live a life of integrity and you come out and you're doing your thing, and people will not associate you with who you were. Generally, I can't say that, clearly, if you somebody that then really seriously harm somebody's family member, they don't care what you did later in life, but generally speaking, once if you make a transformation, the only people who care or even know about your transformation are people who used to know you. Other everybody else, they're just looking at what value you can add to their lives today. Like what are you doing today that matters in my life? You can leave me, you can miss me with all that other stuff that you got going on, because it will never come up. Even in conversation, many times it will never come up, because they're like, yeah, look, I don't know what's going on now, man. I need you to do this job today, or I need you, to figure out what you can help me with now in my life. So it's actually not a fear that we should have overwhelmingly. We do while we're inside, because I had it. Even when I was in MCRP, I was worried about it. But once you get out here in society, one of the things you'll start to learn is that is people are not all that concerned with our past. We're way more concerned with our past than other people are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even homies, right? So like homies ain't even caring about your past. They're like, yeah, whatever. That was then. This is now.
A score and I think sadly though, I think sadly, especially coming from being incarcerated, like when you get out, that's really all you have to identify with is the former you. And you first look at other people. I was telling my best friend this when I got released the first time. I'm like, when I used to walk out into society, I used to feel like people was looking at me and they knew I had just got out. Or if I'm sitting inside of a room and somebody said that something came up missing, even though I know I didn't touch nothing, I instantly, something inside of me just feel guilty about it. So I'm instantly like pulling my pockets out so they can see I don't have it. But it's just something inside of me. It's something inside of me that just want to keep myself in the clear. And even though I know, like, I probably sat down and educated myself while I was gone and I became a better person, I still have yet to find an identity out here in freedom. So the former identity that I did identify with, I still view myself as that. And I haven't gave other people the opportunity to see who I became. And like you said, that's just something that's psychological, because they only see you for what you are right now today. And they only see what value you can add to their life and nothing outside of that. But psychologically, because we've been taken away from society, when we come back in, it's like this guilt that's inside of you, and you just want to be a good person. Just like how a little kid want to be good to their parents, you want to be good to everybody that's around you. And people take advantage of that sometimes.
Right. And you will likely say you're worried about showing people what you became, and we don't realize they're not worried about that at all. They're not. We're only worried about that. We're only worried about projecting an image to other people that's different than who we used to be, and they're just looking at who you are now, right? They're like, okay, well, who are you? Like who are you, and what do you got going on? Yeah. And that's what matters. And when we get to that place where we get to that place of understanding, that's where we're able to progress. Right, because we're not going backwards, we're not looking backwards, because all the time if we're looking at, or I need to show you I'm not who I was, then you're still living in the past.
Right. Yeah. Hey, Scary, I agree with you on that 100%. Like, the only people who are like that really know you is the people who used to know you. So they the only ones is looking at your past. Like, people that don't know you, they looking at who you are right now. You know, whoever you're putting forth right now, that's what they looking at. You know, so I agree with you on that, Ascari. I don't too much worry about that, because I know who I am now, and I'm living that person. I'm living in my truth right now. So, and I know that I know where I'm headed. I know I'm doing good things. You know, so I'm not even concerned about my past anymore, you know?
Right. Yeah. And like, you know, that's the one thing, the beautiful thing is that when we get in that space, right, where we recognize, like, I can't undo what I did, right? I can only do better going forward, right? That's what amends means to me, right? So, you know, I got some level of problem with the whole way that they do those kind of classes in there. But for me, amends is not about looking back and making right what I did to someone. What amends to me is about, from this moment forward, making things better based on the mistakes I've made in my past. And so, and I know, and it's weird, like, you know, I wouldn't trade my history for anything. I wouldn't. And that's one of the crazy things, because all the things that happened to me, all the things that I went through, all that I experienced, make me who I am today, right? Make me the man that can sit here, you know, have this podcast with you and put things in the world that people have never heard before. That only happened because I went through the experiences that I went through. I don't want these experiences for anybody else. Right. I absolutely want somebody else to be able to benefit from my folly, my mistakes and the things that I've done in my past that I would absolutely rather that than hold on, let me get Amir Salam back in. But yeah, rather that than see them go through what I went through, because it's hell, man. Like little football was talking about, man. Like this that penitentiary weigh on you. I mean, it weighs on you like nobody's business. It's like you, if you ain't never been there, you can't even understand what we talking about right now. But there's a weight on you that's outrageous.
Right.
I didn't realize this until I had a guy at prison. I tell everybody this. I was in high desert for 6 years, and I just remember shooting all the time. I'll tell anybody, like, I seen more death in that prison than anywhere else in my whole life. Like it's traumatizing to watch somebody die, and I'm not talking about, oh, you just got shot in the head once and he died. I'm talking about being stabbed to death. Then the individuals that were stabbing him get shot in the shoulder or get shot in the head or get shot in the chest, and having a helicopter come pick a body up off the ground. And just when war happens and you instantly go into fight or flight, and it's like you don't really realize how traumatizing it was until afterwards. And what I'm saying is, like, when I had first came home, I remember the first 4th of July, I just was scared the whole day because I just kept on hearing pop, 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 pop. And every time I heard a firecracker pop, I was jumping. Like, I was just jumping my heart rate. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm not cool with this right here, because it kept on reminding me of being on the yard, and I would just relive that whole thing all over again. So like, even when somebody comes back from war and they suffering from PTSD, I would equate that to the same trauma that some of us done had, because it doesn't happen so much. Like, it became normal while we was there. Like, oh yeah, somebody about to get knocked down. Even the birds know. The birds fly away from the yard. Like, the tension get thick on the yard, and when we all know what I'm talking about, we can feel it. And then you start hearing the gossip, and then you start seeing crowds dispersing. Next thing you know, the action start. And when you first come out here, like, you don't realize it until you in a situation, and he's like, something don't look right, something don't feel right. Yeah, I can't go there, and I got to get up out of here, and I don't want to be in a room where there's gonna be more than 10 people, because I can't see everything, and it feels very freaking uncomfortable. It just feels uncomfortable. Just even getting into a verbal argument with somebody, you like, all right, am I about to hit this fool in his face, or am I about to try to verbally calm it down? Where he might just be expressing himself and talking, he's not even thinking about fighting. But because of the culture that we cut from, it's a thought. It's a thought that flashes through my mind, and I have to realize, oh, I'm a civilian now. And it wasn't that I was like a civilian or a citizen when I was in prison, but now I'm back out here into society where it's like that thinking don't work no more. But it's just a lot of trauma. So what football was telling you about, prison weighing on you, when you get paroled, that don't mean that you mentally got paroled yet. You physically got paroled, but you mentally still shaking that stuff off, and that takes time. And that's why I can enjoy being in a space like this, just being able to talk about it, because nobody else even know what I'm talking about, because they haven't been there. They can hear the passion when I'm talking that I'm going through something, but this space right here is like an open door, and it's therapeutic because it can help you rinse some of that trauma out just a little bit.
Yeah, we talking. We did an interview yesterday. Michael and I, we recorded an interview yesterday with Umar, and he was talking about how he had started his career in Pelican Bay, and we were noting that that's where you get it. You go to those places. You go to Pelican Bay and high desert, right? You are absolutely going to get a different education than if you start your career out in Donovan or even Sentinel or any 270. Right. Because it's just and actually the physicality, right? And for people who are not familiar with what we're talking about, 180 and 270 yards are they're it's actually 180 degrees and 270 degrees of gun coverage, right? That's what it literally means. Like, how much gun coverage do they have on the people? So inside the housing units. So on the 270 they have 270 degrees. So it's like a almost like a square. And then in the 180s it's different because they're isolated and insular, but the 180s are so physically confining that they actually confine your mind, right? So your whole thought is about what goes on between those tiny little walls on the 180, right? That's what everything everything is there. You're not really worried about nothing else. You might even have a yard next door to you, right? And you ain't even worried about what's going on because you got the upper yard and the lower yard. Man, we ain't worried about what's going on in the lower yard. We on the upper yard, right? What's happening right here in this little tiny space? What's our politics? What's going on today? Who we got to get? Who gonna try to get us? You know. And I remember being in high desert all the time. This is why I stopped carrying knives. I'll give y'all the story, right? I used to always stay strapped, right? So I come out, always strapped. Something told me this morning, right? I don't know what it was. I took my knife, I broke it down, boom, boom, boom. I flushed it. I said, why am I carrying this knife right now? I'm like, and I walked out this housing unit, right? I walked out. I was in high desert on C facility. I walked out of building 5. I go through the rotunda just like normal. I get outside. All the police is on one side of the building. They like, everybody come over here, strip out. So they was like it's like a secret strip out. And it was the day that I broke that knife down, right? It was the day that I broke that knife down that happened. Right now, that was a sign for me. Like that was a sign for me because my policy was this, right? My policy was this, and I'm not. Y'all know me, so y'all know I'm absolutely true when I say this. My policy was, look, if a police catch me with a knife, I'm busting on you. Period. Right. That was I was like, they're not finna take me back to no courtroom, give me no life sentence for carrying no knife. Just because I just gave it to the police. That was my mentality then, right? That was how I thought at that particular time. And so when I broke that thing down and I walked out there that day, it was like I felt like my life got saved. I literally felt like my life got saved that day because and back then I was still, really high strung. I was really still high strung when I was in high desert. And I had a thing about, because the police were there. They were kind of, hands on, to say the least, right? They like to touch you,
That strip out was real. In high desert, yeah. They was like gangbangers too.
And they didn't have a problem with hurting folk and carrying on. And so I matched that energy, right? So I matched that energy. Like whenever I was stripping out, man, I had my mug on. Like, man, look, I'm looking you in your eyes and I'm letting you know, if this goes south, I'm gonna break you, right? Then we can go do whatever we gonna do in the back, but I'm gonna break you right here, right? I don't care what your other dudes do with you. I'm gonna break you. And I had that look in my eye and that feeling in my heart. And even now I'm getting triggered right now. This feeling, I start to feel a little bit of it right now.
I can hear it.
And that's the kind of stuff that like we talk about that people don't understand. We get that stuff in us, and it's so hard to get out, right? I dread the day when if I get out here and somebody physically challenges my life, right? I dread that day. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala it never happens, right? Because I don't know how healed I am until that happens, right? I won't know who's going to show up until that happens, right? But if a dude would grab my neck or to do some crazy stuff I be seeing people do to people, because I have no idea as I sit here today how that would end. I hope that I would be able to, exercise all the logic, the reason, the judgment, the growth that I believe I have. I really hope that that's who I am, but I have no idea, and you don't have no idea either, right? You ain't got no idea what you're gonna do until somebody trigger that other dude in you, and how much power you got over him. You don't know until it happens.
That's deep right there, man.
Hey, Scary, I relate to you on what you was talking about when you was talking about matching the energy of the police. Yeah, that's how I walked around the yard. Like if it was a tough police on the yard, I'm looking at him crazy. I'm looking at him like, what's happening? What you want to do?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not afraid of you. And just like you said, we had some real tough stuff inside of us. We had became some vicious dudes. You know what I'm saying? For me, I didn't even care if I went on death row. That's how I used to think. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, for us to have changed who we was And now that we're out here, like you said, you know, you don't know what would happen if you're pushed to that point again. You know you don't want to go to that point again because you know what type of person you was. And the type of person you was, it's going to be all bad. Yeah. You know, so, yeah, I get it. I get what you were saying 100%.
And it's all bad for us, right?
Because it's going to be all bad for us.
Well, whatever we do to the dude, it very likely would be final for him, right? Whatever we do to the other person, right? That might just, and it's over with for him, right? Maybe his family, but we're gonna sit there and like, man, why in that split second that moment in time, I destroyed everything I was, everything, all my future, all my happiness was destroyed because I allowed emotionality to take hold of my reason, right? You know, and that's what I say that what sends people back to prison most times is when they allow their ego to supersede their intellect, right? People know they shouldn't be doing certain things. They know it. But then the ego starts to kick up, and the ego supersedes the intellect, and it's like, wait a minute, man, I'm Tricky B, fool, right? You know, and bam. Now when you say that to yourself, now you got to be Tricky B. Right? Because now you done told yourself you Tricky B. Now you got to be that dude. Now that means okay. You know, you were telling me one time about how you guys shot at Tricky B, how you guys shot like 5 or 6 times because you was kind of flexing on some dude. Tell that story.
Yeah, well, I was going to go pick my homie Denver Bam up, and my homie Sad Dog had called me along the way, and he told me he was at a gas station, and it was this dude from West Side Paru. They was arguing about some kind of pimping shit or whatever, man. And he was like, man, Tricky B, he just went to his car and grabbed something. I didn't see what he grabbed, he grabbed something. So, you know, me being who I am, I stop on the block and grab my shit, and I pull up to the gas station, and yeah, I instantly see the commotion that's going on. So I pull behind the dude's car because I'm like, I'm not about to let him leave. And when I get out the car, you know, I walk up to my homeboy and I say, hey, listen, man, and I whisper in his ear kind of low. I say, hey, look, man, get up out of here. And I'm just going to talk to this dude. And that was this logic that you was talking about. And I'm like, I'm just going to talk to him, man, and de-escalate the situation. And I see his hand is in his pocket, and I got my hand inside my hoodie. And, you know, when my homeboy see me, he instantly get even more pumped up. He like, yeah, now, nigga, whatever. And, you know, he's going even more animated. So, you know, at this point in time, I have to take my homeboy side. So the dude that was from West Side Paru, I ended up firing on him because I'm like, I'm not gonna shoot him because I never shot another blood before. So I'm just like, we just gonna fight. So when I swing on him, which I shouldn't have did, but I swung on him and he fell on the ground and he instantly pulled the gun out. And I had mine pointed at him already. But you know, I hesitated because I was taught that we're not supposed to do that to each other. But before I even knew it, I was already getting hit with bullets. And you know, I'm like, I'm not gonna say I'm out of practice, but I got this big old 357 with me. I don't know how to use this thing, so I'm holding it like it's, you know, a regular pistol. And when I shoot, you know, my hands swing, and I didn't hit this dude, but I'm getting hit, and I end up running. And long story short, I go to the hospital, and you know, all the bros come up there, and they like, man, you know what happened, and why did you hit this dude, and this, that, and the other. And you know, later on, when I was getting the bullet put out of my back, this dude at Martin Luther King Hospital, he was working on me, and he said, I've never seen nobody get shot right here and not die. It was like somewhere where my lungs is at, but my rib cage had stopped it. The bullet had went through my arm, and I guess my muscle had slowed the bullet down. So he's like, you know, I done did multiple surgeries, man, and you know, for this bullet to not have pierced your lung and for you to bled out, I want you to consider yourself lucky. And I've said to myself afterwards, like, if I would have just not put my hands on this guy and went with this logic that you was just talking about, Ascari, instead of, man, I'm Tricky B, who this nigga think he is. If I would have stuck with the logic, the incident would have never happened. You know what I mean? And it was me living in my ego, like you in my neighborhood, disrespecting my homeboy. You know what I'm saying? And you got your hand in your pocket like you the big bad wolf around here, and I'm gonna show you who the wolf is around here. But I could have lost my life over just that ego of, nigga, I'm Tricky B, nigga. What the fuck is you doing over here? And Yeah, I never went back and did nothing to the guy or none of that. And I'm not saying that because we on the podcast. I left him alone. And people was telling me I could pay them to kill this dude, or hey, I know where he be at with his baby mama, and I know what time he put his hoes down on Fig, but I let the dude go. And I didn't let him go because I was scared of him or I'm a punk or nothing. I let him go because I was wrong.
Right.
I was wrong, and more damage was gonna come out of that situation than good. Because when somebody from a neighborhood shoots somebody from another neighborhood, them neighborhoods instantly gonna beef. You know what I'm saying? And it just so happened my neighborhood was fresh off of a beef with the Inglewood families and the Swans over a similar incident, over somebody putting their hands on somebody and they getting upset and some shooting ended up happening. And we was fresh off of squashing that. So then here come Tricky B getting shot because he done socked this dude from Westside Pyro. And the homies is like, hey, we on whatever you on. If you want to go over there, let's go over there. And I just decided that day after I got shot, I drank a bottle of Hennessy. And I told you the story, I'm just going to tell Michael. I went over there by myself because I didn't want to go over there with my homeboys. So I went by myself and I parked at their store off of Rosecrans. And I'm sitting there. And the first one I see, I jump out and I break down. I didn't know I was going to cry, but I break down crying. I got my shirt off. I'm a little faded. And I give him my gun and I say, look, I'm not even over here to do nothing wrong to nobody, but your homie shot me today and I still want my fade. So they instantly make a gang of phone calls and here go about 25 of them all around me. And they like, look, man, we understand what happened. And they calling him to come get the fade. And the dude never show up. And right then and there, I just knew whatever it was the fear inside of him is what got me shot. And you never know what your actions might put in, what kind of fear you eliciting in somebody else. Whether it's the way you walk, whether it's the way you talk, whether it should be your tattoos, whether it be your name, whatever it was, he knew that he didn't want to get it in with me. And fear is big. Fear is big. I done been scared before, but fear is big, and dudes that's scary will kill you. And it's just like you said, I'm gonna go back to that intellect you was just talking about. I would rather go the path of intellect. Even right now, if somebody was to walk up to me and bang on me, I'd rather just be like, man, have a nice day, brother. As opposed to me feeling like you just disrespected me and asked me where I'm from. Am I looking at you crazy or did I say something to offend you? Like, what made you ask me where I'm from? Like, come on, man. I get offended when dudes be like, where you from? But that intellect you talking about, if I was to always go that route, I would never have to face my ego of don't challenge me, because I like get challenged in conversations and in arguments and disagreements all the time. So why is it unfair for somebody to look at me and try to challenge my gangsterism? Because I like getting challenged in all the other areas of my life because it makes me better, but except for that one. Because when somebody challenge your gangsterism, it's like they challenging your ego. You challenging everything that I done built myself up to be. And so now I feel like you looking at me like a punk. And now I got to show you who I am. And that right there is like what you was just saying. When you leave the intellect alone and dive deep into the ego of who you see yourself as and who you want the world to see you as, of like, don't bother me, don't fuck with me. And that right there is just, it was almost fatal for me.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, that goes into your self-confidence or you having an inferiority complex where you feeling because somebody asked you where you from that you're being challenged or that they're questioning your gangsterism. Yeah. Right.
No, you're right. I was over there. Michael, I was over there. My grandma stayed off of LaSalle, down the street from the car wash, and I forgot the name of that street that the liquor store is on in the A-Trays, but this one I was delivering water for Arrowhead. I used to always have my uniform on, and one day I'm walking in the store. I got a very distinctive walk, but I walk in the store to go get me some drink, and I'm coming out, and the A-Trays banged on me like, "Hey man, where you from?" I'm like, "I'm from Devil Lanes, man." And they like, "You know where you at?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, this is, it's good." And he just like, "All right, man." I mean, they didn't do nothing to me. We don't beef with the A-Trays, but I'm like, just in that moment, I'm like, man, do you see me with this Arrowhead uniform on? And you still going where I'm from, and I was highly offended by that because it was like I might as well be walking around in a khakis, some chucks, and a t-shirt. Like you're not even safe in the uniform no more if you in somebody's neighborhood. But my best friend told me this yesterday because y'all know I only been home for about 7 or 8 days, and she told me this yesterday. She said, baby, Nipsey Hussle said something. And I want to tell you what he said, and I'm like, okay. And she said, the way you walk is the reason why I'm telling you this. She said, you know, when other people look at you, they see a gang member because of how you're walking and because you got these tattoos, and they can instantly just tell. So and she was like, and when gang members go slide on other gang members, they're practically looking for themselves. They're going to go look for people who walk and talk and look like them. And if you continue to walk around like this, it doesn't matter if you have a suit on, it doesn't matter if you have a jogger on, and it doesn't matter if you have khakis on. You have to correct your image, you know, and you know, I know how to get in front of people and articulate myself well, but when I'm in my comfort zone, I'm just belling around, and it's almost damn near like I'm still walking on the yard. And but when she told me this yesterday, I'm like, okay, I need to start trying to, you know, let my arms go a little bit more closer to my sides. Let my
hey, listen, Michael sent me a picture, right?
Yeah,
he's in a suit, right? He's literally in a suit.
Yeah,
and I look at this picture and I say, wow. I said, this is I was thinking the very same thing. Our mentality, right? Because I was doing that when I first got out too. The pictures that you take, he's still standing with a penitentiary pose while he's in a suit. Picture, right? I'm gonna put it in the podcast so when it airs, people will actually be able to see it. But
okay.
he's standing, and that's crazy because we are our history until we rewrite that history, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody got to point it out to us.
You know what? A friend of mine's told me he do CGA classes, and he told me that you got to do more than change. You got to transform.
There it is.
You got to become a whole nother person.
There it is.
There it is.
You know what I'm saying? Because he said that you could pull up a garden, right? And plant something else. Like you could pull up some tomatoes, some cabbage or whatever, and plant some carrots or whatever. But it's still vegetables. He said, but if you pull up the vegetables and plant and put a sidewalk right there, that's something totally different. That's no longer vegetables now, that's a sidewalk. You know, and he was saying that's what we got to do when we changing. You know, we can't just change. We got to transform. We got to take it to a whole nother level where we no longer that person that we used to be.
Right. I agree. I mean, I personally look at it as a transition. Ascoria told me something the other day, which he told me before, but when he told me yesterday, I think it was when I first was on the call with y'all. Ascoria, correct me if I'm wrong in editing any of the words that you told me, but you told me that I'm trying to say it exactly how you said it, because you told me you were sharing something about me to your business mentor. You had told me, you said, man, when you first came to the program, it was like you wrapped the whole program around your finger, but when you exposed who you were, that's when everybody started bagging up. I believe you said it that way right there.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah.
And back to what Michael was just saying, like when you're making a personalized transition with yourself, it's very wise to be like 100% aware that people are watching you. And it was like it doesn't do no justice to be one person in the Zoom, and then once the camera go off, I'm back to, oh yeah, blood, whoopty 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 wop. Or a score used to tell me this all the time, like, man, your profanity is just off the hook, because I'm just like, yeah, this bitch, and yeah, fuck him, and yeah, nigga on lanes, and whoopty whoop, because it's just a part of it's a part of my identity though. This is who I am. This is how I talk. And it's like I don't gotta go hang on Fig, but I'm so used to being like, nigga on lanes, or on bloods, or man, fuck you, bitch, or that's just how I'm talking. And it's like I'm not in the professional mode, so I could just be who the hell I want to be. But at the same time, I wasn't realizing that the community around me was looking at me as like a businessman, and they looking at me as doing like such great things. And I'm in Zoom meetings, and people are paying me to hear me speak in Zoom meetings. But once the camera go off and they hearing all the other profanity and the gang banging, it was like I was devaluing myself, and I was losing value in people's eyes. And I was just like, you go from being someone's mentor to someone's like, yeah, I need to stay away from that guy. He's a psychopath. Like, how is he doing both of these things? But but Scory, I do appreciate you for bringing that to my attention, because it goes to having integrity, which you told me at one point in time, that's the things that you do when no one else is around.
Exactly.
And I learned that I didn't have integrity. At one point in time, I think I only had selective morals, because it just wasn't something that was in me. And I never really looked at life of how are other people viewing this. I just looked at how I viewed it, and how I viewed it is I could be and do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it, but not really looking at it as I was losing respect from people who highly respected me and put me on the pedestal. And I knocked my own self down. Nobody did. I knocked my own self down from not doing what you said do, which was be the higher you at all times, even when no one else is around. Even if you think nobody else is looking, be the higher you. And the more you become the higher you, the less and less and less and less the old you will exist. It may be some residue left behind, and that's fine, because we could never ever say that we're perfect. But that residue, I'd rather have a little residue than to have a whole pocket of the old me left.
Right. That's I mean, it's just really important. And I say that to people all the time, that it takes time to get to that spot, but man, you have to be one with being integritous, right? You have to, like, say my integrity matters, like, just like my reputation, like I have to, the reason that some people wonder why I have such affinity with homies, even though I've been a Muslim for so long. And I mean, when I'm gonna say a Muslim, you all know I've been a Muslim. I'm deeply embedded in my faith, and how I'm still connected to homies, so connected to homies. And the reason has always been this, right? Is that I've always genuinely wanted the best for my homeboys, right? When I came across a Gangsta, I genuinely wanted the best for them, the thing that I could provide best for them, and I always put that forward. And it pays dividends. So even today, I mean, I even today, I'm around the homies, and they embrace and love me, because they knew that all the time that they were ever in my presence, the only thing I was ever going to try to do was to bring the best out, or to provide something that was going to increase or better their lives in some kind of way. Excuse me. I wasn't getting choked up. I was just something I had like.
Yeah, right, man. You over there?
No, I wasn't.
I don't want to hear that.
I wasn't. It was something like in my throat. My wife got me a glass. Let me see. What is this? Some Tanqueray? You woman? You trying to poison me?
Hey, tell Mariah Carey I said what's up, man.
Nipsey said what's up.
Hey, what's up, Nips?
For y'all who don't know, Kenny calls my wife Mariah Carey.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and she called him Nipsey Hussle.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the history behind the nicknames. But yeah, a Scory, man, and I just want to put this on the record, man, that I met you formerly in two different prisons. But when I got to MCRP, you definitely was not the inmate that I had met. You was like a whole nother man, and like your integrity and your faith. You know how you are in Islam, man. Whether you know it or not, man, has been like completely like just influential on my professional life and my personal life. Like, I would have never thought that, I'll be having a conversation about integrity or about morals or just about, my own personal individual character. But just knowing you as a person and having you as a friend, and you just inviting me into this little safe space that you created right here, man, it helps me like just be a better person. Even when we not talking, even when we not on the microphone, you see, as soon as I got out, you like the first individual I reached out to, because I knew I know just my friendship with you that it was very fruitful, period. Not fruitful like I'm a benefit off of it financially. I'm talking about we talking about like internal things that touch you somewhere where no other friendships like really touch you at. And just you believing in Islam and how I see you pray faithfully and how I see that you don't really try to like push Islam on anyone. I personally never seen you do that, but I've always heard you refer back to the Quran, and give a scripture out of it that might relate to somebody's life or something personal in your life that I can relate to, as opposed to you just judging me. You use a personal action on your life and relate it to mine, and it just instantly give me a different viewpoint on it, man. So I like just 1,000,000% just appreciate you, because that makes me a better me. Like today, even though I went back to prison for 10 months, I sat down and thought about all our conversations, man, and about the high mountain I was on. I know the viewers don't know what we're talking about, but I had started a business while we was in MCRP, a very fruitful one, a very it was financially lucrative, and I lost it all because this man right here, Scory, was telling me that I was being like 10 different people at one time, and it was bound to crash. And not only did I crash, like I crashed and burned and went through like a heavy depression over losing my company and losing money and just losing the respect that I had from everybody. But Scoria, you helped me throughout them 10 months I was gone. Mind you, me and you didn't get to talk, but
Right.
I took all your integrity with me and came out of prison with integrity this time, which I never had ever. I probably had integrity with politics on the yard, but I'm talking about my own personal integrity. It's nothing in life I would have never did because I didn't have that or morals, and you like played a big part in that, man. So that's my big thank you to you.
Well, I appreciate that, brother. I say Alhamdulillah, all praises due to Allah. It was really wasn't me. It's just my journey has been one that allowed me to be able to say to say those things, because that's been my journey. I've actually, when I embraced Islam, it gave me integrity. It gave me the thing, because I know what you're talking about. I know about not having selective morality, believing that you're actually moral when you're a piece of garbage. I know about that, and that's who I was before Islam. That I actually thought I was. It is crazy as I look back at it, how I thought I was a good person, how I thought I was moral and upstanding and all the things, but it wasn't me. All you were benefiting from was the fact that that Islam had come into my life, and I had embraced it wholeheartedly and got my system, my personal life system from that particular belief system. I know other people have their own belief systems, and those work for them, but Islam is what worked for me. But that's but I say Alhamdulillah, I'm absolutely grateful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has changed me in such a way that I've been able to have impact on people's lives like that.
Yeah, man. I mean, most definitely, man. I mean, even when I talk to people now, do you know, because I try my best, and I'm not telling you like I don't curse, but nowhere near as the sailor who I used to be. And not only that, you had spoke to me. I think one of the biggest things, and I couldn't wait to tell you this. I actually hope that your wife is listening.
She's here. Yeah, she can hear you.
Okay. You guys know like how many women I was talking to at one time and this, that, and the other. And you used to be telling me like, man, you like all over the place with these women. Like you're just all over the place with these women. Like this is gonna be your downfall, Kenny. Remember you told me that?
Yeah.
Yeah, nah.
It was gonna be your downfall. There was no question that nobody can do that. Yeah.
But I remember your wife and you was on the phone with an individual one day, and you was telling me like all the crazy stuff this woman was saying, and you even let me hear some of the crazy stuff the woman was saying, and you told me prior to even getting involved with this woman, you said, Kenny, don't do it. But me being, the little hound that I was, it was just every woman I seen, or even all the women in the program that we was in, I'm just, flirting and getting flirted with, and I'm just loving all of this energy that I was feeding off of. But It wasn't until I had went back to prison to where I'm replaying this conversation about women in my mind, and I'm wondering, like, man, why do Ascori got such a good relationship with Mariah? Like, that's like his dog. And you had told me this one thing. You're gonna remember what I tell you when I tell you this. You said, Kenny, let me tell you why I married my wife, man. For one, I was looking for, you know, a Muslim woman. I remember you told me that. And then I also remember you telling me, you said, you know, you will have this image in your mind of who you done built up, who your dream woman is going to be. And then when you actually meet your dream woman, she'll be nothing like, you know what I'm saying, the woman who you visualized in your mind of what you thought you was looking for. And you're really not going to see her from a visual perspective. It might not be a visual thing. It might be a emotional. It might be a mental. It might be the friendship. It might be all of these things. And I'm just like, yeah. And at the time when you and I were talking, this is what I was saying. I was like, yeah. But when I went to go back to prison, I was getting mail from all of those women I was talking to. And there was a lot of hate mail because they all started finding out I was talking to all of them. And they started breaking into my emails and my Facebook account and my Instagram and bank accounts. They was just, they broke me down. They stripped me like a stolen car. When you come back and the wheels is gone and the doors is gone, all they left me with was the frame. Everything was gone. And I had got a JPay from my best friends from middle school. And you know, it was like a previous woman who I was involved with. And you know, we had did things to hurt each other and all that, but we had always was friends.
Right.
We just always was friends. And when I thought back into your relationship with Mariah, I'm like, one of the things I valued about y'all, just watching y'all every day, is y'all had a friendship. I never seen y'all relationship, but I always seen y'all friendship. And I'm just like, that's what I want. That's what I want right there. And I'm not gonna try to find that through talking to multiple women. I'm not gonna try to say, oh, I'm Ken Bale and I'm handsome and I got, you know, these colored eyes and I got the muscles and I can have any woman I want, because it lacked the friendship, it lacked the integrity, it lacked everything that makes you and her powerful. Like, you and your wife is powerful. And I got to the place now to where I don't need multiple women no more. I don't need all that. That was like a facade, and it was an act, and it was me trying to cover up. I told you and Michael this the other day. It was me trying to cover up hurt and pain that came from my mom, and I was trying to replace things that had to do with my mom with women, instead of just confronting my mom and taking those issues head on, which we'll talk about that at another time. But
Sure.
I found a friendship that it did not have to be a relationship. It didn't have to be, hey, I need a woman in my life so I don't feel alone or so I don't feel empty, because the friendship filled that empty glass that I had. And listen, man, when I tell you, man, that you and Mariah, that relationship, that friendship y'all have, man, listen, I got one of those, Scary. I got one, bro.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got one, man.
Yeah, you know, and just remember this. If you asked Allah for her, right? If you asked God for her, and if you did that and he gave her to you, right? Honor that. Just remember that part. Just all you have to do is remember that, and you're gonna be okay. Like, you remember everything. Say, you know what? I asked for this woman. I was begging God for her because I needed her, and he gave her to me. Right? You get in that space, Jack, and it's smooth sailing from there. Smooth sailing.
Absolutely. That's the space your boy is in right now, man.
I'm
It
so
just
happy for
feels
you,
good.
brother.
It feels good dealing with one person, and I'm not talking about like when she's in my face. I'm talking about even when she at work. I'm not grabbing my phone and calling 10 other women or none of that. It's just, it feel good because that's integrity. And I'm like, damn, I never would have thought that having integrity would feel this good.
Yeah. And surround yourself with people who are of like mind, right?
Yeah.
You can't be building relationships and close and intimate relationships with individuals who will drag you back into the places that you don't want to go, right? You got to say, okay, look, I can have a tangential relationship with you. You know, you could be on the outskirts, right? But if you're gonna be in my core group, you got to be somebody who I either aspire to be or someone who's of like mind, right? Because otherwise, right, you're just dragging me down.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you what was like super impactful. This Napoleon Hill got these 15 lessons, but the last one is called the Golden Rule. And he's just like the way he broke it down is, you done have these ups and downs all through life where you be at the top of the mountain, in the middle of the mountain, and at the bottom. These three areas of life. And if you find that every time you make it to the top, you fall right back down to the bottom, you might want to correct the way that you're treating other people in your life, because the golden rule states this and this alone, that how I treat other people is how I will be treated. And that's, if I am a deceiver, I will be deceived. If I am a liar, I will be lied to. If I bite and I'm a snake in the grass, the snakes in the grass will bite me as well. But with that same energy right there, if I am a great person and I treat my friends great and I treat my relationships great, then therefore I will attract those same great things back into my life. And I can't be a BS person and get mad when somebody start BSing me. So at the same time, when I'm a great person and I'm getting treated great back, now I feel like I'm on to something. Because now I know that and that alone cannot be taken away from me ever again. Because guess what? Ken Bell is not doing that. I'm not going out and saying, oh, well, I'm going to appear to be this great person, but deep down and on the low, I'm a dark person. You know what I'm saying? And now that I done shook that darkness, I feel like I got a glow in my life, just in my own personal life, with my not just with my personal relationship, but the doors that I slowly open and start letting people back into my life, which including you. And look, I just made this great guy Michael right here, so it's just like I already feel
Great
like
guy.
I'm attracting good friends. I'm attracting good friends. But if I would have just got out and I'm calling the devil lanes up and I'm just like, hey, blood, where y'all at now? Oh, yeah, pull up, man. Come get me. And I want to go back to the set and be on the block. Guess what, man? I just went back and pulled that residue that was left behind, man. And
So that reason why. Did you listen to that song that Umar made, the one I sent you? Did you listen?
Yeah, I listen. Hey, listen, me and my best friend was in the choir and we listened to the whole song. Yes, we did.
Yeah. That song resonates with me so much. It was amazing. Like, it was really, really good. But we have to get going, because we're gonna have to edit this down to at least 2 episodes. It might be 3, because we've been on here a while. But before we go, Michael, what do you have to say? We'll see if we gonna leave your comments on the editing room floor, or we gonna let you speak your wisdom. No, what you got to say, Mike?
Oh, it was a good interview today. We talked about a lot. We discussed a lot. A lot of good stuff got shared. Again, I learned some new stuff about Mr. Bell over there. I'm glad to see that you got integrity now. Ascari is a good dude, man. I learned a lot from him from the first time I met him. I don't think he know that I had learned so much from him. Like, you had a big impact on me, whether you know it or not, Ascari. And I always thought about you. So, when I was sitting in the park that day and you walked up, I was like, man, this is crazy. It had to be some divine intervention working for us to even connect like that, and it was good. We was able to talk and put our brains together, and we came up with this thing called Gangsta-Gangsta, and it's a good it's a good way for us to express ourselves, to let people know that we are human beings. We might have did a lot of things in our past or whatever, but we was able to change. We was able to become better men, and hopefully we can help other people. So I'm just glad to be a part of this, Ascari.
I am too. I'm excited for the future to see where this goes and what we can do with it. I know that there've been people who have listened to the podcast who have said that it really had a really positive impact on the way that they were starting to see things or think, or even just being able to hear people that they can relate to. That like they can relate to what we're talking about because it's their life. And we don't often get that, you know. So it's getting where it needs to be, and we, like I said, we'll get better. We definitely gonna get you some lighting or something to make you better, because you look like you a suspect in a Dateline interview.
Hey, you had already you started the cast. You started the podcast.
I know.
Before I was even on.
I know, but that's cool. But like I said, I like this. I actually like the authentic and organic part of our thing. That's enjoyable to me. Like it's scripted, it's not contrived. We just talking and we, you know, we coming out off the cuff with what we got going on, and we got technical problems and difficulty and all that, and we got to go back and make things right. And I kind of dig all that, you know, because it's just real, raw and real. And I think that particularly in today's society, we don't get raw and real no more. Everything is scripted. Even reality TV is not even reality. It's some script somebody wrote.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. So all right. This has been Gangsta-Gangsta. We like I said, we had an incredible interview today. You will very likely have to see this thing in segments, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like 2 hours long or something. I'll put the whole thing up, and then I'll break it down in segments as well. All right, this has been Gangsta-Gangsta on behalf of my host, Deacon Michael Hall, and I don't know if he was a co-host or a guest. I don't know what we had going on here with Mr. Ken Bell.
Mr. Ken Bell.
Hey, listen, man. I appreciate y'all inviting me into y'all space, man. It's been a pleasure hanging out with y'all this morning. Just, it was very fruitful. I could be reached on LinkedIn at Kenneth Bell. You will see me under the National United Freight Logistics. And once again, thank you for inviting me in y'all space, and I definitely hope I can do this with you guys again soon.
Absolutely. And we also want to thank
you like hanging out with youngsters.
Babies. He's a baby. He said, I'm 40. He's a baby.
Yeah. I was in the heart of it, man. I was in the heart of it, where it all happened, in the dark of it. I'm talking all the graphic. Do I ever miss the block? Man, they all asses. I think it's heaven at the top till it all crashes.